back. As promised, Becky Bell, Jill is set here for round 7 for Nerd Rage Gaming. All right. 6 rounds in, so we got a couple undefeated players. That's that's some real work.
It's some real work, and quite impressive that 2 out of the 4 undefeated players are playing Amulet Titan, which is not exactly an unpopular deck, but is the 4th most represented deck here as far as the metagame is concerned. Izzet, Murktide, 4-color, Yorion, and Burn are all above Amulet Titan.
Okay.
So I guess like it being within the top 4, like you would expect 1, but the fact that 2 out of those are up here, quite impressive. So it says a lot about both of these players, and only one of them is going to emerge victorious. Well, I guess they could draw, but
well, let's hope not.
Let's hope not.
So
yeah.
We've got Guevu and Jack Potter playing the Amulet Mirror. Let's go ahead and go under the table. Get things started. The winner of this will have the privilege or the option of double drawing into the top 8, probably, which now no guarantee that they'll take that option, but it will be presented to them most likely by their opponents from thenceforth. You were there a little bit last weekend when I played in the RCQ, and I chose not to draw in order to try to play for seeding, and that is something that if you're trying to win an event, if you're trying to win a qualification, that could matter to you. And see that segue? There are qualifications online today. The 2 finalists will qualify for the regional championship in November in Atlanta at DreamHack, and
wow,
it is easier to do something like that when you're a higher seed, because you get to go first in the elimination rounds or have choice in the elimination rounds. So
yeah, and it's something that I think I was talking to somebody else kind of recently, and it was surprising to them how many events that they'd been to where they were like, oh, people are like safe whether they win or lose, and that's just a situation where you should be comfortable just like playing it out and trying to go first, especially in a lot of these smaller events. Like I understand that the idea of like going to get food is very appetizing, and if that's something that you need, like listen to your body before magic by all means. But it is also a situation that's very interesting because I feel like a lot of people don't prioritize trying to be on the play, and something that I think a lot of people, especially in modern, that is kind of a very draw and play dependent format, should be anticipated and looked at a little bit more critically.
All right, so both players start with a Saga here. Quang actually, or Duevo actually has a second Saga here and fetches up Amulet of Vigor. And we're seeing here, whoa, here's a second Amulet. And yeah, Jack Potter may or may not have another turn coming.
Yeah, that could certainly spell something going quite poorly here for Jack.
So that is 4 mana made right there. Here's the Dryad. So 1 left. 1 blue mana left available, plus the Urza Saga that's in play. And we know the bounce line is there. So that's at least another 4.
Yeah, so we can get up to actually 6 mana, I believe, still.
Yeah.
So we could just, if there's a prime time in hand, we could be going through this pretty quickly, but instead it's going to be a Valakut. So I think that, at least in Jack Potter's mind, is very nicely going to give that little bit of sigh of relief moment.
There is a Boseiju in Duevu's hand also. So if you're wondering why wasn't a construct made with the Urza Saga with the blue mana and the Valakut, it may have something to do with that, and whether Due has plans for this Boseiju, because there is green mana available from the Dryad.
Yeah, very nice wording on that Dryad, allowing you to tap for any one of those basic land colors. Not wastes, but it's fine.
So these players, 6-0 with Titan, are, I'm sure, fully aware of how much pressure can be put on them by 1 amulet or 2 amulets. Jack Potter, I mean, may have breathed a sigh of relief just surviving and getting to a third turn.
Yeah, I mean, I would be. Like,
Hmm.
if I saw that second amulet come down and be like, "Oh, no, you just kept the nuts hand, I'm dead." Like, if I was in, like, any, like, lower tier tournament, I would've just been like, "Well, do you have it, or should I sit here and wait, or are we done? Are we calling it quits?" But it looks like Jack is gonna be able to play that Slayer Stronghold and go ahead and do a Dryad of his own here.
All right, here is a Selesnya Sanctuary coming down, and that's going to draw out Boseiju. So that's going to take down the Sanctuary before it
Mhm.
can untap from the amulet. So instead of 2 mana, Jack will get 1 and still have to bounce the land. So yeah, that is a pretty nice interaction.
And this is so interesting too, because like this is a situation where if like I, as a player who has maybe played Amulet Titan once or twice, played against it a lot, but piloted it myself very few times, uh, would I have targeted the bounce land with the Boseiju? No, I'd probably have gone for the amulet, which says a lot about my level of play with a deck like this, and
Hmm.
is something where if you're somebody who's interested in playing amulet, you've got to be ready for these mirrors. And watching a match like this with players who are clearly experienced with it at 6-0 can kind of matter a lot and tell you a lot about this matchup. And I guess what you should search for apparently only Amulet of Vigor every single time.
And Dwayne was just like, "Hey, I have 2 land in my hand. You're conceding, right?" And Jack Potter's like, "Yeah, I guess I
Yeah.
am. Yeah, you got me." So,
That's what I was expecting to happen kind of the turn before that
mhm,
too, and that's, I guess, again, when I was saying that, like, at a lower tier tournament, I'd be like, "Do you have it? Just show me, like, let's go through this a lot more quickly," but gonna be able to do that on the next turn anyway, and very nicely done in a great hand to have gotten Dwaybu through that first part of this game.
yeah, alright, so let's go ahead and look at the deck lists for okay, we'll scratch that, we don't have deck lists available, that's alright. But yeah, and, no like you were saying, you don't need to see them play through it. They've won 6 rounds, they clearly know what they're doing. Conversely, to my
I'm playing the
experience
same deck, I kinda know what you're trying to do, so we can just go
well,
ahead and
yeah, and
say,
and you guys just sign of respect. Last week, my Primeval Titan opponent was doing similar things on turn 2 and then ended up making mistakes and dying to their own pact. So, but when you're this far through, you expect, probably they're gonna, obviously credit was given by Jack Potter saying, "Yeah, I understand." The fact that you're even showing me that you think this is enough to convince me that you've won is probably a good sign that you know what you're doing.
yeah, and I believe that we've seen Dwayvu on here quite a few times.
Mhm.
That's a name that I'm pretty familiar with, and I believe we've seen them play Amulet Titan quite a few times as
Mhm.
well. So somebody that I'm very kind of looking for and is playing what I would consider the more interesting version of these 2 decks. I know that we don't quite have deck list ready, but I can go ahead and say a few things that are kind of
Okay.
like little flags to me between these 2 lists.
Sure.
And the big difference is that Dwayvu is still playing Sakura-Tribe Elder, where Jack Potter is not, and as well as playing 1 copy of Hydroid Krasis, which is kind of an interesting little addition to the deck and a card that hasn't seen a ton of shining moments outside of its small burning light in standard.
Mhm. Yeah, okay, here we go. Um, the players are already opening hands, so we'll just look at Dwayvu's deck list real quick, and then we'll jump over to Jack Potter's, and you can draw your own conclusions from what you see, as we're not going to linger on it. So, neither a Karn version, like one of the ones
Mm-mm.
we did see earlier today. All right, there
This
we
is
go. Down.
interesting too because I feel like
Okay.
somebody else. I mean, like obviously, like you listen to the people who you are gonna listen to, but I feel like recently I had a lot of people who I regarded as pretty good Amulet Titan players saying that if they were going into events over the course of the next few weeks, they were very interested in playing Karn versions, which is
Mhm.
always interesting to me to have like some people say that, and then some other people are like, absolutely not. Both of these players not playing Karn. And then it's interesting when those players who said that they would, I end up seeing them at an event and then they're not actually playing the thing that they said on Twitter they would be playing. So it kind of something that you take with a grain of salt, something that you can change your opinion pretty quickly over the course of like just gold fishing or playing with some friends the night before and you're like, "Oh, maybe this actually isn't as good as I thought it was."
Right. Yeah. Or maybe it's even, yeah, I mean, I agree with what you said. And it could even just be someone explaining to you the capabilities of the other option. And it's just, you don't have to play it. It's just like, well, did you realize that having this in your deck allows you to do this? Like, oh,
Mhm.
I did not. You're right. Oh, I want that capability.
And that's one of the cool things about Magic is that, like, yeah, it's a 1v1 game, but there's so many aspects of it that you get to, like, grow and learn so much just from, like, experiencing the same deck with somebody else.
Mhm. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Okay. So, Jack Potter, after some shuffling, found a 6 that he likes, leads on Tolaria West.
Sloth.
Yeah, there's your sloth. And it's a Lair of the Hydra in play, I think.
Yeah, it is a Lair of the Hydra.
Wow.
It's kind of a yeah, another interesting addition. I was very drawn to specifically the creature differences between these two decks, but that is an interesting thing that we are seeing Dweevu have in their deck. I don't think that we're getting to see that. It doesn't look like anything like that is in Jack Potter's list. It doesn't look like there are
Mhm.
any creature lands of any sort, just those Valakuts, which obviously not creature lands, but damage dealing lands in a different way.
Sure. Okay, both players the Amulet. I suppose that's why Duevu kept 7. See, he liked what he had. And here is a Vesuva copying Urza Saga, as it does come in with a counter on it. So just a stream of amulets coming from, which is all that Duevu needed last game in order to take it down. But we
Is that a
do have,
crumbling vestige?
mhm,
Yeah, it is.
yeah. So green mana floating and 3 more untapped land in play. So there are certainly options here for Mr. Potter. Wow. That is very, very punishing. Force of Vigor taking out 2 Urza Sagas, leaving behind an Amulet of Vigor, but Duevu, not a lot to work with now.
Yeah, that's a kind of shattering, to put it nicely. That like, yeah, that's basically a time walk times 2, and also, yeah, ooh, that's just gotta be rough, and so, thankfully, Dway, I guess Arboreal Grazer is kind of able to help out with this a little bit by getting us an extra land into play, but in reality, that was just a huge setback, and now an Explore gonna be the follow-up from Jack, and this seems like we've accelerated enough, but will we have some things to put onto the table that can help follow up with that kind of strong start that we've been able to have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, these Titan decks may diverge in how they get to 6 mana, but the same thing generally happens once there. It's always you want to have Titan. So we'll see. I mean, it's not too far away, but I don't think we're there yet. I mean, it's never too far away, I guess.
Yeah, we saw how Dway literally showed 2 cards, and Jack was like, "Yeah, this is over." So,
Mhm.
sometimes when you're both playing the same deck and these are combo-based decks, there's a lot to be said for just knowing that you got it. How do you feel about the players who sit and do the counting? There was a very funny TikTok video that was going around. It was actually about Yu-Gi-Oh, but it was a player like shuffling the cards in their hand, doing the finger counting on the table, asking cards in hand, doing the finger counting on the table, asking cards in hand again, and then calling a judge and being like, slow play. And the opponent's like, you're the one who hasn't made a play. It's your turn. This is turn 1. And it didn't matter. It was Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Magic. Everyone was in the comments of that video being like, "This is too real. Everyone does this across every single game. How is everyone so similar?" And
Yeah.
it just there was a moment where I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't." I personally like I can understand like tapping on the table a little bit, but some people I feel like do it in such an exaggerated manner where I'm like, it's not really necessary.
Well, I mean, of course, I'm not cool, so I haven't seen your TikTok video, but I
I'll
did
send it to you. Don't worry.
once play a a match where both the opponent and I got a slow play warning on the first turn. So I can relate, even though I haven't
Okay,
seen it.
okay.
All right, Jack Potter, after counting, has perhaps found a route here that he's satisfied with. Here is a Pact, 5 mana floating plus Tolaria West untapped. So we are going to see a Titan here, I imagine. There it is. And with the Amulet in play, Titans frequently attack the turn they come into play. I
Just a
think we
bunch
could
of
just
sloths and a giant on the board.
I think we describe Jack Potter's searching his deck to be excitedly flipping through his cards, knowing what he wants. Haste on the Titan. Get in there. Oh, I'm choosing that you're going to block with this Arborreal Grazer. All right.
All right. Do we have anything in hand on the other side that's going to interact with this at all? I have a hard time believing there's anything, but this is game 2, so
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, picking up that passing the turn with Boseiju in hand, able to fire off, really makes this tough for Duevu to cobble something together here. So with three mana in play right now and the amulet, unclear if he'll be untapping with that much available. Looks like so. And it's not going to be enough. Duevu, very quick to show that he has the win and very quick to admit that he has the loss. So we'll go to game 3.
I mean, we had to see a little bit more come out from Jack, and I think that I actually like it in opposed to like game 1 where you're seeing the very quick like I have these things, game is over. In game 2 where you don't know exactly what your opponent is running in that sideboard, just being able to
Mm-hmm.
sit there and be like, I'm gonna make you have it because there's a chance that there's something in my sideboard that you're maybe really not anticipating. I don't know, surprise path to exile, something. Who knows?
Yeah, sure.
For the sake of trying to keep the illusion there. I appreciate making Jack kind of go through that as far as that second game is concerned. And we do have deck lists ready to take a peek at so that we can see, is there actually a Path to Exile on the sideboard? No, there is not, but there are some other kind of fun things to take a look at.
Yeah, all right here. So in Duevu's side, there are a couple more Boseiju, and those are just great interaction that you can tutor effectively into your hand, even though that wasn't the idea with Primeval Titan. It does often function that way. Force of Vigors, we know are winners in this matchup.
Mhm.
And I don't know that you necessarily want too much else. Is it possible you get to a point where the game lasts long enough and neither players killed you, and so you can get away with Emrakul, the Promised Land? I don't
That's
think
what I'm
so.
kind of
I don't
wondering.
think so.
It seems
Yeah,
weird.
yeah. All right. Dwayne's gonna take a mulligan, so let's take a glance at Jack Potter's deck and look at his sideboard. And certainly there's some similarities to Force of Vigor, to Boseiju. So no one's gonna have likely an inherent advantage here. A lot more dismembers in Jack Potter's list, but I mean, maybe you bring those in to kill the creatures that enable extra land drops. I'm not convinced that that's actually worthwhile.
I appreciate that both Amulet Titan players are actually playing Emrakul. The showing of Emrakul as a one of in all of these sideboards and even some main boards of a lot of the four color
Mhm.
decks that we've been seeing lately is it's kind of funny to me. It says a lot about the format that previously, like, for that span of time where Modern was, like, kind of a turn 2, turn 3 format, and all of a sudden people are like, "Games are going long enough and grindy enough that I want Emrakul: The Promised End." And then most of the time that I see Emrakul get played, like, you take somebody's turn, and you don't win the turn after, you don't win the next 3 turns after,
Yeah.
so it's funny to me that it even sees play when most of the time it is not really winning you or solidifying you the game.
I mean, it does. Yeah, it certainly does go a long way. It's is the printing solitude really impacted the ability to finish games off. But here we go. Turn 1 amulet again on both sides. Yes, no.
Mm.
All right, but still, Jack Potter advances a turn on mana.
Yeah, kind of a fine start for Jack. I mean, you would like to have that amulet, but I this is not the worst start in the
No, this
world,
is fine
especially if you can
also.
follow it up with something like a Dryad.
Yeah, no, both of these starts are good. All right, if we're going for the display of floating mana, that's frightening, I would think.
Yeah, I would as well, but let's give some nice representation for it nonetheless. What's the scariest thing that Dway could have in hand? A Dryad also?
That would okay. So Sakura-Tribe Elder wasn't even on my list of scary cards at all.
Yeah, I don't think it's that scary either, but I could be proven wrong. It's at least going to generate a little more mana and allow for us to play, hey, another
Another
thief.
one. Wow. Okay. And then this could actually lead to because there's the Boseiju that got returned to Doi's hand, and that can activate
Mhm.
with well, I guess we're
Oh.
no, I guess Doi's short on mana for that. So this is
Mhm.
gonna be an unimpeded turn for Jack Potter. Well, not Boseiju interacted with anyway. It could still be a Force of Vigor looming.
We'll see what Jack Potter is going to end up doing with this turn. Just a sloth and this growth chamber in play. It's always weird to me when I like normally like you look at modern players' hands and you're like, okay, what's in hand? All right, there's some lands and some creatures, and then it's Amulet Titan versus Amulet Titan. You're like, okay, you've got a bunch of lands in play. Okay, I guess that's actually kind of good for you, but it does look like Jack does have a Primeval Titan at least, and then a good set of lands, but it seems a lot harder to accelerate on mana with the specific list that Jack has. Again, not playing those Sakura-Tribe Elders in Jack's
Mhm.
version of the deck is just kind of playing one Azusa, the 4 Dryad, and then hoping that some other things are going to end up getting you to that Primeval Titan.
All right, Tolaria West pass is the turn. Elder is going to sacrifice. So 2 ramp effects for Quang Vu. So that'll push him up above Jack Potter's just single Arborreal Grazer. Sorry, Sloth. And yeah, I mean, there's the free interaction from Force of Vigor does, have to, you have to respect that. But even a non-lethal Primeval Titan being cast helps build your board so much that every turn that goes by is just frightening as to what you could be facing by the time you're but the difference between when your opponent untaps and then says go is immense in this matchup.
Yes.
At least it can be.
Can be. I mean, considering that we've seen Jack and Dway each win on turn 3 and turn 3 respectively between these 2 games,
Mhm.
um, I would certainly say so, and being in a mirror match like this has gotta be really spooky because it's like, how much time do you spend trying to put your head down and just win the game? Or do you try and really try to interact with your opponent with things like the Force of Vigor and the Boseijus, and you're kind of trying to balance those 2 things.
Mhm. All right, so this is a Boseiju 2 on the amulet.
And draw step, yeah.
So this will get.
So land drop for this turn could be enough for Dway to at least just play a plain
Right.
Primeval Titan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's. I mean, that's not even a lot compared to what these decks are capable of, but it's still obviously significant. But no, we're going to see other stuff. We're going to see Boseiju back on the Simic Growth Chamber. So both players kind of crippling each other, setting each other back. So we are going to make it past turn 3 this time.
Woo!
Maybe even further. Do I hear turn 5?
Ooh.
That
It
might be
looks like we might
optimistic.
be getting turn 5. Maybe? I guess we got to go back to Dway's turn to get to turn 5 here, but it looks like we'll probably get there. It's hard for me to believe that Jack could bring together a win on this turn.
Yeah. Dryad into the Tolaria West. So 4 mana on play for Jack. 6 for Dwayvu.
And has a 7th land drop in hand at least with a forest.
Contemplating end of turn effects. It appears that could take the form of maybe another Boseiju on Dryad or on Tolaria West. Okay. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, especially because there's another Tolaria West in
Mhm.
play, so it seems weird to be afraid of one of them. They're the 3rd copy of Boseiju in Dway's hand as well.
Well, if there wasn't, he can find it now as Primeval Titan is in play. Trigger on the stack. It will not be attacking this turn. There's no amulet. So it's more of a fair Primeval
A
Titan.
fair Titan.
Yeah, it's fair Primeval Titan. Exactly. What's
Good, fair Primeval Titan. Because that's definitely how I would always describe Primeval Titan.
what do you think? This thing's supposed to be cast on turn 6 just to get 2 more basic lands in play?
It's being cast on turn 5, which, is probably the most fair Primeval Titan I've seen in a long time, actually. So, you know what? I'm slowly getting on board here.
All right, reconsidering the options. The initial poll looked like Simic Growth Chamber was included, and it's still pulled up.
Yeah, and I think has that Tolaria West on top too, thinking about doing that as well to return the Tolaria West to hand, and still has a land drop for this turn, I believe, as well.
Yeah, you're right about that. So, see, what's unreasonable about this?
Absolutely nothing. I can't even say that like straight faced.
And he has to pay 4 mana next turn.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, Vesuva was the other card, not the 3rd Boseiju. Okay. I believe the Vesuva is on top of Simic Growth Chamber trying to copy. Yes.
Okay, so Gruul Turf was bounced instead, so that there's a dual bounce land in hand in case he wants to have one to play next turn. And over to Jack Potter with 4 land in play, the ability to make 2 land drops this turn. There's one.
2 prime times in hand.
Oh,
And 5 mana. Yikers. That's rough.
yeah, it is.
But
And Primeval Titan actually just going to straight up attack here, playing fair. It's what's happening. Playing fair with Primeval Titans. That's what we thought we were going to see today.
it is still funny to me because maybe this is just like Primeval Titan just doesn't feel like a fair card to me.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the problem that I'm experiencing right now?
Well, I don't know if it's a problem, but it might be the feeling. Yeah. All right. Here's Okay, so this is a little more unreasonable, even though it's still totally fair. Yeah, searching up Boseiju and a bounce land to return the Boseiju to hand.
That's the
All
tweet.
right.
Unreasonable, but still totally fair.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a fair description of a lot of decks. I mean, when you're losing to them, it seems completely unreasonable, but it's not as bad as some other things.
Yeah. Urza Saga is going to tick up. What could Jack Potter be able to draw to kind of take over the game?
Well,
With 2 Titans in hand.
Yeah, and that's really, I assume he's going to lose his Saga here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to be easy to cast Titan right now. Well, I guess it's no harder than it was last turn.
Yeah,
As
exactly.
you draw an untapped land source.
Yeah, but if we get rid of, how many basic lands are these playing? Hold up, now I gotta look. Oh, there are 4 forests. Okay, so we'd still be able to go find a land if we get the Boseiju.
Yeah, unless it's drawn for the turn, which would be quite heartbreaking, and yet enough reason for Duevu to wait. There's no reason to fire off Boseiju now. Well, if it's going to be fired off at all, which it may not be.
Which we're just moving the target around, trying to decide what exactly is going to be pinpointed, and it looks like Dryad gets to be the one, which does put Jack to enough mana to play Titans, regardless of a draw.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, by the time Jack has to put a Titan into play, Quang Vu's gonna be ready to play, another one or more, but it's probably still the best course of action. I will say this match has lasted longer than we kind of anticipated. If we were bet on the over under on the amount of minutes this game would last, so we would have lost.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, we specifically were looking for, we wanted to feature 6-0 decks, and we were like, oh, Titan versus Titan, that'll go pretty quick, and then we can go to a backup match. And now all of a sudden we're in game 3 and we're playing quote unquote fair Amulet, fair Primeval Titan.
Well, and then really that's what makes it fair is the amulets aren't here.
That's
the
true.
Amulets were dispatched.
We're just Titan. Not Amulet Titan, just Titan.
I mean, they're just 6/6s. They trade with each other. I mean, yeah,
so
next turn is likely to be a little messy, as Quang Vu isn't limited to just Titan. He could go for, one of the other creatures in his deck. Probably not Sakura-Tribe Elder, if I had to choose, but one of the other options.
Let's go for the Hydroid Krasis. I don't even think it. I mean, it's probably not even that great. Go for the Emrakul.
The Cultivator Colossus might look pretty good at this point. Also, we'll see. Here's the Pact.
What's going to be the choice? Could we even cast Emrakul? We probably could. Oh, we certainly could. It's so much mana.
Potentially it looks like it's gonna be a Dryad. You get some Valakut action going on here.
It's gonna be enough to win us the game, though.
It'll be enough to kill the opposing Primeval Titan and prevent it from attacking.
That's fair. That's important
enough, or maybe that's just the most that Quang Vu can muster right now. So that comes into play, or
it was kind of interesting because we were looking through Joy's deck as well, and it was seeming like there weren't a whole lot of other big creatures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does have a Cultivator Colossus, just one, and I think it was one Hydroid Krasis too. Also, here are the 2 Valakuts.
Crunch.
So that's 12 damage, so 6 to Titan, 6 to Jack Potter. And then there are 2 land drops available for the rest of the turn because of the Dryad. So we're doing 12 damage right now. 2 land drops isn't enough to win the game.
But you forgot about my lightning bolt.
Oh, actually, maybe it is. I guess they weren't updated.
Oh.
So yeah, I stand corrected. That is 6, and then 6 more. So 2 lands is enough. As Jack Potter was actually at 9. Okay, so Dwayvu advances to 7-0 with inspired play with the Primeval Titan deck in the mirror. Jack Potter will have to win a couple more rounds. And then, that felt long, but it probably actually really wasn't all that timely. And we have Adam Wasburn-Moses and Don DeLozier as a backup match. Let's go ahead and head there, and we'll see if we can put any more players into top 8 contention.
Yeah, and this is going to be an interesting showing as well. These are going to be the 2 top meta representation as well. And based on time on clock, I believe that this is the only one that we're going to have time for as well.
All right. So let's get that that little pip on the game score. There we go. Got it cleaned up. Excellent. So 4-color versus Izzet Murktide. And we'll show you a little bonus action here this round. Ledger Shredder does connive on turn 2 off of Mishra's Bauble, which is an excellent interaction. Pitching Lightning Bolt is not ideal in a lot of matchups, but against 4-color, it's just another thing that hits a Planeswalker. It's okay to discard that.
Yeah, and considering that the thing that Don just saw was in fact a Planeswalker, maybe we'll regret that a little bit, but
Maybe.
running 6 kind of hard to get rid of even with a lightning bolt, so not really going to be that upset.
Okay, so early game established. Adam Wasburn-Moses land drops are assured. Don DeLozier, spell snare in hand. Unfortunate. I mean, nothing that she could do about it, but unfortunate that Ren 6 slipped through in the window when the spell snare was not available.
Yeah, kind of an unfortunate situation, but that's how it goes sometimes. And this Ledger Shredder is going to have its little bird work cut out for it.
Indeed. One more trigger would be enough to threaten the Ren 6 next turn if it doesn't get blown away in the meantime. So we'll just see what the players have going on here. Both players with Dress Down in hand. Adam Wasburn-Moses with several additional fetch lands in hand, including this Windswept Heath. I think there's 2 Wood of Foothills.
Yeah, it looked like there were a lot of lands in hand, and then a Omnath and a Dress Down were what I was able to make out.
Okay. Don may be considering cantripping the Dress Down here. Maybe even considering spell snaring the Dress Down to get a connive trigger. That's a lot to give up. But I do believe she's at least thinking about it.
There's also a consider in hand.
Yeah, there's also consider. So consider plus Dress Down seems a little less card inefficient.
Would agree.
And Adam discarding hand size there. That's not going to cost him too much, as it's just the Windswept Heath. Oh, and Ragavan. Oh, that's works out well. So we may see, if there's a land available, we may see something like Iteration and then Dash Ragavan to get the connive trigger.
Yeah, that would be kind of a nice way to make sure that this Ren 6 gets finished off. It does look like Adam does have an Icefang Caudal in hand as well, which would make things a little bit more more difficult.
Yes, absolutely it would. And Adam would have to choose, you know, does he throw the Koala in front of the Ragavan or to trade off with the Shredder?
Mhm.
The Shredder, at least, I mean, you probably block the Shredder because that saves actually the Ragavan, even though he doesn't need the lands. You still kind of want the card. And an Unholy Heat is among the cards, and that is going to change the calculus a little bit.
Mhm.
And okay, so we're seeing Unholy Heat just take directly out the red and 6. Attack comes across and gets through. Quaddle not having Death Touch yet. And no land drop for Dawn there. But that turn, that seemed completely fine.
Yeah, if you're gonna have a turn without a land drop, I think that was probably one of the best ways it could end up going. And you have another expressive iteration in hand, so should be able to hopefully find one on the next turn and not fall too far behind here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nice. I mean, easiest way to take advantage of expressive iteration is to make a land drop, and Dawn
Mhm.
unable to do that, but still able to get the full 2-for-1 from the iteration. Okay, Adam with steam vents here. Certainly, Omnath is possible. Would be a solid play for the turn, and that will. Ooh, Solitude was the draw. That will forestall any Ragavan dash activities.
And another Ragavan was the draw for the turn, which definitely making things feel a little bit rough as it was not a land. And Dawn not even going to go for the expressive iteration here, is really prioritizing just keeping up that counterspell, too afraid of missing on a land drop and not being able to hold up that counterspell.
Okay, that's reasonable. It is certainly, allowing yourself to fall behind a little bit, but
Mhm.
I mean, the last expressive iteration didn't hit a land. And yeah, if this one missed 2, then that would be nearly game over if the iteration was cast and counterspells were not available, because it's a certainty that Adam's got plenty to do.
Mhm. Oof, and it's about to be a whole lot more if
Yeah,
we
it's
hadn't held
so
up that
tough.
counterspell.
Yeah, but it's so tough. That's the same thing we saw happen earlier today.
Yeah.
It's, lead onto Fairy into the counterspell mana, and then you're just stuck as the Murktide player. And so she goes for the counterspell, and then Solitude comes down, and your board evaporates, and it's just nothing you can do about it.
And then all of a sudden you went from having a clock despite holding up counterspell and getting hit by 4 with this Omnath, and there's just a whole lot that is in play right now.
Mm-hmm. A couple of Ragavan, the iteration that you mentioned, the dress down, still hanging out,
Yeah, we
and
did
finally the
draw in
land.
Misty Rainforest
Mm-hmm.
this turn, yeah.
Unholy Heat Murktide. I mean, second Murktide goes to the bottom.
It's the second Murktide region that we've put to the bottom with an expressive iteration as well. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if we'd shuffled before that last one, but we're certainly going to before the next one here.
Yeah. I don't think we did after the last one because we missed a land, so
Mhm.
probably not. Here's a Renin 6 again, and okay, yeah, spell snare is being debated here.
How many things are you really going to be able to spell snare? And would you
Yeah,
rather spell snare the Ice Fang Coddles or the Renin 6? And I think I would prefer a Renin 6.
I agree with you there. Yeah. So there that goes, and now the door is open for Adam to do whatever he wants. I mean, with another fresh land in hand, you actually could cast Yorion this turn. Unholy Heat is going to take down something first. And this Quaddle's being very disciplined, staying back in case any Dash Ragavans may appear.
Mhm. All right, making sure that Omnath can't actually make too much mana this turn. So nicely able to handle that.
During her last turn, I felt like Dawn was almost hopeless to get out of this game, but that only he taking on the Omnath really kind of turned things around a little bit. And now I actually think, while not ahead, I think she has chances here.
Yeah, and has a Murktide in hand, and that can certainly really start to turn the tide. Oh, it does not have it was a counter spell. I thought it was a Murktide. My apologies. Instead, we have these Ragavans, but those can certainly start to do a lot of work as well. And as you called it from the last turn, Quaddle hanging back is going to be able to catch that monkey.
Yeah, so that's I mean, it's a little depressing to just throw that Ragavan into a Quaddle, but at least it does get it out of the way.
And we have another one in hand,
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
trying to at least get to a point with where what we have in hand, since it is not a Murktide, is doing enough for us.
So with the Omnath gone, I mean, Adam has 5 land in play, but I mean, most of the cards, well, now 6, a lot of the cards in this deck are expensive.
Mhm.
So it's the ability to cast 2 or 3 spells in a turn is greatly diminished without the Omnath. Here's a Bauble. Dash Ragavan with counterspell backup sounds okay.
Sound okay, especially considering that we know that Adam has another Ice Fang in hand. Ooh, choosing
Yikes.
not to save Ragavan, which I think is fair, just a little bit
Yeah.
more scared of bigger things, but it is gonna start to feel bad that we just don't have a lot of action in our hand.
Yeah. I mean, that's in like with the Ragavan going in and Quaddle comes down, you don't fight over it because you're exactly what you said. You're afraid of something else. But just
Mhm.
these little things add up. And this is
Yeah.
consecutive 2-for-1s for Adam Wasburn-Moses. And so even though Don's plays aren't necessarily bad, they are this just kind of exemplifying how this matchup plays out. The 4-color Yorion deck can make exchanges and come out ahead on them.
Yeah, and it's hard. Every single one of those cards is pretty much a 2 for 1, so even if you
Mhm,
are having your Icewind Quaddle get counterspelled, you're like, "Oh, that's fine." Like, my 2 for 1 became, what, a 1 for 1 now, and that's, like, okay as far as Magic standards are
mhm.
kind of concerned. I know we've made a lot of jokes about how Modern has become a 2 for 1, even a 3 for 1 in a lot of senses, but sometimes you gotta be okay with those lower tiers as well, and getting this expressive iteration to exile this Renin 6, and there's just so many cards in hand for Adam, who's been able to accrue so much card advantage off of the land stumbling from Dawn here.
Mhm. Okay, traverse the Ulvenwald. That's gonna fetch up some kind of nastiness. Maybe an Omnath, maybe a land. Wow. Okay, gets a fetch land. Nope, changes his mind. Well, that is certainly less threatening than a lot of other possibilities that could have been coming out there.
Mhm. Ooh, Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah, Sandcastle. So we saw Joseph Bernal playing
1
Murktide.
copy.
So
Hmm.
no, this morning, Bernal's playing 4 Snapcasters in this event.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, his deck.
Dawn's list is only 1.
Oh, okay.
I did go to check.
I see. I didn't realize what you meant, but yeah. All right. Well, that is certainly a nice one to have with counterspells to bring out. That's certainly going to create a mana advantage, and Dawn's life total is still certainly high enough to be able to get a few more turns deeper in this game. The Solitude's cranking away, but sure, it's a 6-point life a turn, but she can spare some.
Yeah, and at least having that Snapcaster Mage that could come down and counter something else, as well as block this solitude is certainly not a bad
Mhm.
place to be in if we're still trying to be in a good spot in this game. And Adam just drawing another land is gotta not feel really great, especially considering the amount of fetch lands that Adam has deployed in this game.
Whoa. Okay, there's Emrakul. So that at least partially explains why that Traverse got a land, because the Emrakul's already in hand.
Oh. Oh.
Okay. All right. So we see there Dawn concedes to the Emrakul there of Adam Wasburn-Moses,
Mhm.
allowing him to take down game 1. Now, we are not going to show you game 2 because the match is still going. It is currently game 3. So Dawn won game 2, and we're going to transition down and watch live off of the replay what happens at the table for the rest of the match. So let's go ahead and go down there now and see how things are looking.
Let's do it.
So we saw okay.
Whoa,
Well, a lot
this
of
looks
land in
like what
play.
we just went away from.
Yeah, saw a lot in play, not a lot else. And so we saw Adam Wassermosis win game 1 off of a lot of 2-for-1s, including the Ice Fang Quaddles a couple times.
Mhm.
Dawn won game 2. We missed that one, or we didn't have time to show that one as this round has gone rather long. But here we are in game 3. Life totals fairly untouched, and a Murktide region on the way in.
Yeah, taking a look at what was in Dawn's sideboard and what we can see, looks like the unlicensed verses came in. There's one copy of Blood Moon, one copy of Magus of the Moon, and I feel like depending on who you're talking to, different people have different opinions about whether those are good or bad
Mhm,
against these 4-color elemental or 4-color Yorion strategies.
mhm.
As well as things like the mystical disputes, and some people consider the Fluster Storms to potentially be good in this matchup. It's also, again, kind of a hit or miss and depends on whether you were able to see counter spells coming out of these Yorion decks.
Okay, so Yorion on the stack here, and Dawn with a counterspell and Unholy Heat. So the choice, I imagine, is Unholy Heat the Quaddle or counterspell the Yorion. Adam
Hmm.
with not too much mana left over. The choice is. Oh, I'm sorry, that's subtlety.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
subtlety,
All
not
right.
counterspell,
Right.
which, ooh, puts it on the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, my mistake. I was thinking that was the alternate art counterspell. So subtlety takes Yorion
They
to the
do look
bottom of
pretty
the deck.
similar.
And Adam has 2 cards in hand, one of which is Boseiju. I don't know the other one.
Mhm.
But Don still has the Unholy Heat. So that can take down the Quaddle and open the door here for a pretty sizable attack.
Yeah, that Murktide's gonna hit like a truck. And Ragavan gets to get some goodies as well. Endurance is flipped over on top of the deck, and you utilize some treasures and say, hey, that's ours now. Get rid of your graveyard.
Hmm.
We conceded to that Emrakul in the first game. Let's make
Yeah,
it a
that's
little more
true.
difficult to get that onto the board.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And also, Adam lost, I think, 10 life there. So sitting at 6 right now, or I'm sorry, 3, and maybe on his way out of here. And that's
Yeah,
it.
wow.
Don DeLozier. So happy we were able to see a couple turns of that game. Does come back after losing game 1 to multiple 2-for-1s and kind of just having to battle uphill the whole time. Recovers, wins game 2, takes down game 3. Congratulations to her. Moves on to 6-1, I believe.